I received a $3.2 million retirement package after 30 years with Sentinel Technologies. I grabbed my briefcase, my Executive Achievement Award, and rushed home 2 hours early to surprise my wife. When I walked through our front door, I heard her voice from upstairs. She was on the phone saying, "Don't worry. Once the divorce is final, we'll have at least half of that, maybe more if his attorney is incompetent." I froze at the bottom of our mahogany staircase. The same staircase where we'd hung family portraits for 26 years. The same staircase where I'd carried her across the threshold when we bought this house in 1999. My name is Thomas Warren. I'm 58 years old. That morning I'd received the retirement package of my dreams. 3 decades of 14-hour shifts, traveling for contracts, missed anniversaries, all culminating in one single moment. My supervisor Janet had embraced me with tears streaming down her face, telling me I'd earned every cent. The company threw me a celebration. My team presented me with an engraved crystal trophy. I'd driven home with the signed documents sitting in my passenger seat, imagining my wife Catherine's face when I told her we were finally truly set for the rest of our lives. Instead, I was standing in my own entryway listening to my wife orchestrate my financial ruin. I didn't go upstairs. I didn't confront her. I quietly set down my briefcase, walked back to my car, and drove to a diner 7 miles away. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely grip my phone. For the next 90 minutes, I sat in that diner replaying every moment of our marriage. Had there been warning signs? Obviously there had been. Catherine had grown emotionally distant over the past 14 months. She'd started attending yoga classes 6 times weekly. New wardrobe, new hairstyle, highlights. She put a passcode on her phone for the first time in our entire marriage. When I'd questioned it, she'd laughed and said, "Thomas, everyone uses security now, don't be so paranoid." I believed her because I trusted her, because I'd spent 3 decades building a future with her. But sitting in that diner, I realized something absolutely critical. Catherine didn't know about the retirement package yet. The official notification wouldn't reach my company email until the following day. She couldn't have known, which meant she'd been planning this divorce regardless, probably assuming I'd just receive my standard pension. The $3.2 million was an unexpected windfall she just discovered somehow. I pulled out my phone and called my colleague Brian from security. "Brian," I said, keeping my voice level, "I need to ask you something important. Who has clearance to view employee retirement packages before they're officially distributed?" There was hesitation. "Only human resources and senior management." "Why? Can you verify if anyone accessed my file in the last 48 hours? Another pause. "Tom, I could face termination for that." "Brian, please, this is critical." 15 minutes later, Brian called me back. "Your file was accessed yesterday at 3:20 p.m. by Sandra Williams from Human Resources. But Tom, there's something else. The file was forwarded to an external email address. Can you identify the address?" "It's James Richardson at richardsonwealthstrategies.com. James Richardson Wealth Strategies." I searched it immediately in that diner. The website displayed a polished photograph of a man in his mid-40s. Athletic, charismatic, confident. Services included retirement optimization, divorce financial planning, and asset protection strategies. I leaned back in the booth. So that was who she was talking to, not just a financial planner, a divorce financial strategist. And someone in Human Resources, Sandra Williams, had illegally transmitted my confidential information to him. Sandra Williams? I knew Sandra. She'd worked at Sentinel for 8 years. She'd never seemed particularly close with Catherine, but then again I'd never paid attention. I'd been too consumed with work. I drove home 4 hours later. Catherine was in the kitchen preparing dinner as if nothing had occurred. She smiled when she saw me. "You're home late," she said. "How was your day?" I looked at her, truly looked at her. This woman I'd loved for 26 years, the mother of my 2 daughters, the person I'd constructed my entire adult existence around. "It was fine," I said, "just completing some final documentation." I didn't tell her about the retirement package. I didn't tell her anything. I went upstairs, changed my clothes, and returned for dinner. We ate chicken parmesan. We watched a documentary. We went to bed, and the entire time my mind was calculating with one singular focus. I needed a strategy. The next morning I woke at 5:30. Catherine was still sleeping. I drove to a law firm in the neighboring county, 45 miles from anyone who might recognize us. The attorney's name was Victoria Chen. I'd found her through research. She specialized in complex asset divorces. Victoria was a woman in her late 40s with penetrating eyes and an immaculate suit. I told her everything. The retirement package, the phone conversation I'd overheard, the transmitted email from Human Resources. She leaned forward in her chair. "Mr. Warren, I'm going to be extremely direct with you. Your wife is planning to divorce you and claim half of your retirement package, potentially more if she can demonstrate she supported your career advancement, which in a 26-year marriage she likely can." However, we have several powerful advantages. First, she doesn't know that you know. Second, the human resources employee who transmitted your information violated federal privacy statutes. Third, if we can prove your wife is having an affair with this financial strategist, that's adultery, which Texas still weighs in divorce proceedings. And fourth, you haven't officially received the funds yet. The documents are signed, but the transfer doesn't execute for 45 days per your company protocol. So what do I do? Victoria smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone who dominated many battles. You continue normally. You appear oblivious. You collect evidence, and in 45 days we ensure that retirement package is secured in methods she cannot access. I left her office with specific instructions. Document everything. Record conversations where legally permitted. Hire a private investigator. Don't transfer any funds yet. Don't modify any passwords. Don't allow her to suspect anything. For the next 2 weeks I performed the role of naive husband. I attended my retirement dinners with colleagues. I cleared out my office. I brought home my certifications and achievement plaques. Catherine helped me organize a home study. She was attentive, affectionate. She asked about my retirement aspirations. I was thinking we could finally take that European river cruise, she said one evening over wine. You've always wanted to see Austria. That sounds perfect, I said. We should start researching. She squeezed my hand. I'm so proud of you, Thomas. 30 years, you sacrificed so much. I squeezed back. We built this future together. The deception tasted poisonous in my mouth. Meanwhile, I hired a private investigator named Paul Jennings. Paul was a former federal agent, early 60s, methodical, confidential. I provided him James Richardson's information. I provided him Catherine's routine. I authorized whatever expenses were necessary. Paul contacted me 6 days later. Mr. Warren, I have what you need. Can you meet at my office? I drove there within the hour. Paul had a comprehensive file waiting. Inside were photographs. Catherine and James Richardson having lunch at a bistro in Austin, 60 miles from our home. Catherine and James Richardson entering a boutique hotel. Time stamps, locations. The affair had existed for 9 months. There's more, Paul said. I investigated Richardson thoroughly. He specializes in helping wives maximize divorce settlements. His website claims he offers pre-divorce financial analysis. What that actually means is he helps identify and strategize how to extract maximum value from a marriage before filing. He's been connected to 17 divorces in the past 4 years. In 14 of them, his female clients obtained significantly more than 50%. How? Various methods. Concealing asset before filing, strategic timing. In 3 cases, there's documentation he instructed the wives to fabricate evidence suggesting financial manipulation or control by the husband. He's intelligent, he's methodical, but he's also corrupt. He receives a percentage of the settlement as his compensation. I examined the photographs. Catherine laughing with this man, Catherine kissing this man in a parking structure, Catherine with her hand on his chest. Get me everything, I said. Every meeting, every communication, everything. Already executing, Paul said. I went home. Catherine was preparing my favorite meatloaf. She asked about my day. I told her I'd been fishing with old friends. She believed me. Why wouldn't she? I'd never deceived her in 26 years. That night I lay in bed beside my wife and stared at the darkness. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, to scream, to demand explanations. But Victoria's voice repeated in my head, don't let her know you know. Collect evidence, protect yourself. So I waited. 3 weeks after my retirement, the official announcement was distributed. I was sitting in my home study when Catherine entered, her tablet in her hand. Thomas, she said, her voice excited. I just saw on LinkedIn. Sentinel gave you a retirement package. How much? I'd rehearsed for this moment. Victoria had prepared me. It's complicated, I said. It's a pension restructuring, some immediate distribution, some deferred annuity. The company is still calculating the final numbers. But approximately how much? I shrugged. After taxation and the annuity configuration, probably around $700,000 immediate. The remainder comes in distributions over 25 years. Catherine's expression shifted slightly. She'd been anticipating $3.2 million. Oh, she said, well, that's still excellent. We can accomplish a lot with $700,000. We can, I agreed, though most of it should probably remain invested for our actual retirement years. She nodded, but I could observe the calculations happening behind her eyes. She was recalibrating, modifying her strategy. That night I heard her on the phone again. I'd installed a recording system in our bedroom following Victoria's guidance in Texas's one-party consent statute. Catherine went into the bathroom, activated the shower, and placed her call. It's less than we anticipated, she said. He's claiming $700,000 immediate. The rest is structured distributions. I know, but we cannot delay any longer. I'll be 58 next year. We need to file within weeks. Yes, I understand the timing isn't ideal, but okay, yes, let's meet Tuesday. I played that recording for Victoria the following morning. She listened intently. Excellent. This establishes clear premeditation and conspiracy. Now here's our approach. The retirement package transfer executes in 18 days. When it reaches your account, we're immediately transferring it into a protected asset trust that we'll establish this week. It's completely legal, it's bulletproof, and it's specifically designed for retirement assets in Texas. Then we're filing for divorce first. Wait, I said I file first? Absolutely. In Texas, the initial filer has substantial advantages. You select the jurisdiction, you establish the narrative. And most critically, with the evidence we possess of adultery and financial conspiracy, you'll control the proceedings. She'll be reactive and defensive. What about the house, our savings, our other assets? Victoria displayed a detailed spreadsheet. Your house is valued at approximately $1.1 million. You have $300,000 in joint accounts. Your individual retirement account has another $500,000. Her retirement account has roughly $90,000. You have 2 vehicles fully paid, some stock investments. In a standard Texas divorce, she'd be entitled to approximately half of marital assets. But Thomas, this isn't a standard divorce. She's committed adultery, which Texas courts still factor significantly. She's conspired to defraud you with her lover, and she's already strategizing to conceal assets. We're arguing for a 65-35 split in your favor, and I'm confident we'll achieve it. And the retirement package? The retirement package is your separate property if we structure it properly. It's compensation for your labor earned by you exclusively. The trust we establish will protect it completely. She'll contest it, but with her adultery, she won't have leverage. I sat back. When do we file? The day after your funds clear. We'll have everything prepared, trust established, divorce documents ready, evidence compiled. It'll devastate her completely. For the next 18 days, I performed my role flawlessly. I discussed retirement travel with Catherine. We explored downsizing the house eventually. She showed me brochures for active adult communities. The entire time she was scheming to abandon me. And the entire time I was planning to protect everything I worked 30 years to create. Paul continued surveillance. He documented 5 additional meetings between Catherine and James Richardson. He obtained records proving Richardson had instructed Catherine to begin documenting financial control behaviors. There were notes about how I made all financial decisions, kept her uninformed about money matters. None of it was accurate. Catherine had complete access to all our accounts. She'd simply never been interested in managing them. But Richardson was coaching her to construct a case for financial abuse. It ignited absolute fury in me. On day 18, the retirement package reached my account at Texas Federal Credit Union, $3.2 million. I watched it appear on my phone at 8:45 a.m. By 10:15, Victoria had transferred it into the Thomas Warren Retirement Asset Trust. By 11 a.m., the trust was secured and protected under Texas law. At 1:30 p.m. that same day, Catherine was served with divorce papers at our home. I wasn't present. Victoria had advised me to stay at a hotel that day. Paul had a process server deliver the papers. He recorded Catherine's reaction. She was absolutely blindsided, completely shocked. She immediately called James Richardson. Then she called an attorney. By 4 p.m., her attorney had contacted Victoria. Victoria played me the voicemail. The attorney sounded confused and hostile. They wanted information about the retirement package. They wanted to negotiate immediately. Victoria returned the call the next morning. I was in her office. She activated the speaker. My client is willing to discuss settlement terms, Victoria said professionally. However, I should inform you that we possess extensive documentation of Mrs. Warren's adultery with Mr. James Richardson, including photographs, hotel records, and recorded conversations discussing plans to maximize her divorce settlement through fraudulent claims of financial abuse. There was complete silence on the other end. Furthermore, Victoria continued, we have evidence that Mrs. Warren obtained confidential information about Mr. Warren's retirement package through illegal means. A Sentinel Technologies human resources employee transmitted private documents to Mr. Richardson. We're prepared to pursue criminal charges against both Mr. Richardson and the human resources employee if necessary. More silence. Now Victoria said, her voice still perfectly professional. Here's our proposal. Mrs. Warren receives 35% of marital assets excluding the retirement package. That includes 35% of home equity, 35% of joint accounts, her complete retirement account, and 1 vehicle. The retirement package remains Mr. Warren's separate property in his protected trust. In exchange, we won't pursue criminal charges and we won't publicly disclose the details of her affair and conspiracy." The attorney cleared her throat. "I need to consult with my client. You have 72 hours, Victoria said and disconnected. I stared at her. Will she accept? She has no alternative. If this proceeds to court, she receives nothing from the retirement package regardless, probably less than 35% of other assets due to adultery, and she faces potential criminal conspiracy charges. This is actually generous." 68 hours later, Catherine's attorney called back. They'd accept the settlement. The next 3 months were a process of paperwork and asset division. Catherine moved out of our house into a condominium. James Richardson vanished from the situation entirely once his potential criminal liability became apparent. The human resources employee, Sandra Williams, was terminated from Sentinel Technologies and faces federal charges for privacy violations. Catherine and I met one final time to sign the documents. It was at Victoria's office. Catherine looked diminished, somehow exhausted. She wouldn't make eye contact. "Thomas," she said quietly as we were leaving, "I'm sorry. I know that means nothing now, but I'm sorry." I looked at her, this stranger wearing my wife's face. "Why?" I asked. "Just tell me why." She shook her head. "I don't know. I felt invisible. You work constantly. And James made me feel noticed, made me feel desired again. It was foolish." "I was foolish. You were planning to destroy me financially," I said. "That's not foolish. That's calculated and malicious." "I know." Her voice fractured. "I know, and I'll have to live with that forever." She walked away. I watched her leave. 26 years dissolved, but I survived. The house sold for $1.15 million. After the split, I retained approximately $700,000 from the sale, plus my retirement account, my retirement package, and my dignity. Catherine received her portion and relocated to Colorado with her sister. I purchased a smaller property in the hill country of Texas, 2 bedrooms, a workshop, a view of the valley. I spend my days now restoring classic cars, hiking, volunteering at the local literacy center. I reconnected with my daughters, both in their late 20s, and explained everything honestly. They were wounded but understood. They'd observed their mother's detachment too. 8 months after the divorce, I received a call from my former colleague Brian from security. "Tom," he said, "I thought you should know. Sandra Williams attempted to sue Sentinel for wrongful termination. The case was dismissed immediately, and there's more. Apparently James Richardson has been investigated by the State Financial Regulatory Board. 4 other women have come forward with similar stories. He's lost his license permanently." I thanked Brian and disconnected. I didn't feel satisfaction exactly, just a quiet sense of justice completed. I'm 59 now. I have my retirement secured. I have my peace. I have a second opportunity at life on my terms. Some evenings I still think about Catherine, about the life we shared, about the life we could have shared. But mostly I think about how close I came to losing everything I'd worked for. How one overheard conversation preserved my entire future. My advice to anyone in a similar situation is this: don't react from emotion. Don't confront immediately. Don't destroy possibilities before you've gathered facts. When you discover betrayal, especially financial betrayal, you need strategy, you need evidence, you need patience. I could have rushed upstairs that day and confronted Catherine. I could have shouted and wept and demanded answers, and I would have lost everything. She would have prepared. Richardson would have concealed evidence. The human resources employee would have covered tracks. I would have walked away with half my retirement at best, possibly less. Instead, I remained silent. I executed the long strategy. I protected what was mine, and I won. It's not the retirement I'd imagined 26 years ago when I married Catherine, but it's mine. Earned through 3 decades of dedication and one moment of clarity when I heard the truth and chose to be strategic rather than emotional. Sometimes I sit on my porch in the hill country and watch the sunset over the valley. I think about the mahogany staircase in our old house, the family portraits, the dreams we'd shared. And then I think about the $3.2 million sitting safely in my retirement trust. I think about my workshop and my hiking trails and my freedom. I think about the future I still have ahead, built on truth rather than deception. I think about how fortunate I am that I came home early that day, that I heard what I heard, that I made the decisions I made. The best revenge isn't dramatic confrontation. It's not shouting or violence or public humiliation. The best revenge is protecting yourself, securing your future, and walking away with your dignity intact. Let the courts handle justice. Let karma handle the rest. I won my retirement. I won my freedom. And in the end, that's the only victory that truly matters. If this story meant something to you, you're going to love what's coming next. Click that video right there for another story about someone who chose consequences over silence. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. I post new stories every week. Hit that bell so you never miss one. I'll see you in the next one.